you get here? So that was my reaction too. I said I wasn't quite expecting that one. So I backed up a little bit and I didn't answer him right away. So then he got acted as if he got a little perturbed, he got angry, demanded an answer. How did you get here? So I said, I drove. How did you get here? Maybe I had a different form of transportation, but anyway, that stuck with me. And I wrote here on the back of the book, I say, you know, most white people never encounter a black person in their daily activities, other than in a subservient role, even today. And this leads a lot to misunderstandings, fails to provide opportunities to bridge the racial divide. And this book reveals how racial bias in the corporate environment cost one company a $100 million account, literally, true story, and caused another one to lose market dominance, starting from a near monopoly position. That's where they started, and they lost market dominance. It really, I'll tell you this briefly, the story, if I get a few minutes here, and it changed a business, basically put a Fortune 25 company practically out of business. That was the beginning. That probably wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. A lot of other things happened, but that was certainly one of the things that happened. Racism always exacts unexpected costs from those who participate directly or indirectly. And this is an important guide, I think, for young people seeking to learn how to maneuver in corporate America, up-and-coming executives looking to build their careers in the modern era, and so forth. My corporate career started a long time ago. I was the third black professional person hired by the Union Carbide Corporation. And those of you under 50 probably never even heard of them. But they've been out of business for a while. They had 110,000 employees and were number 10 on the Fortune 500 list when I started. So the third person. The first person, who was Dr. Al Stewart, talked me understand for longer than I wanted to. But I did. When I left them, I went to work for Eastman Kodak, stayed there for a number of years, really fairly decent assignments, including international, and then I worked for the Gallo Winery in California. But at Kodak, the company that lost the $100 million account was J. Walter Thompson Advertising Agency. J. Walter Thompson, I went to them for an interview early on in my career, right before I learned how to spell interview. And they were on Madison Avenue, beautiful offices, very impressed. I thought I was pretty creative. And the guy just kind of blew me off. You know, basically said, we're not hiring black folk. I probably didn't react that well to it at the time, but I never really forgot it. My last job at Kodak was sales promotion manager for Kodak Film for the US and Canada. So I managed a $10 million operating budget, of which I had discretionary control over 7 million of it. And I was one of the first people in corporate America to start giving contracts to minority people. Well, Thompson, we introduced a new product, Kodacolor 400 film. And Thompson, at the time, had been Kodak's agency for 75 years. Well, I decided when that new product came out that I wouldn't use it. I went to a small agency in Rochester called Hutchins, Wyatt Hutchins, the agency in Rochester. As a result of that, Hutchins got bought by Young and Rubicam about a year later because it gave Y&R an entree into Kodak. And the rest of its history, about a year after that, Y&R had displaced J. Walter Thompson as the Kodak agency.
All right. Dave Moody?
Yes, my name is Dave Moody. I'm the CEO of C.D. Moody Construction Company. I came to Atlanta in 1974 as a freshman at Morehouse College. I'm probably one of the few people you'll meet who was a MARTA bus driver. I drove MARTA the summer of 1977, and that's really how I learned my way around Atlanta, because we drove a different route every day. And bus fare was 15 cents. Atlanta had just reached, Metro Atlanta had just reached over 1 million people. And we hung out on Camden Road at Cisco's, Mr. B's, and ate afterwards at the IHOP at the Lakewood Freeway. So I've been here a long time. What was that?
That's where I saw you.
Yeah, that's why. I kind of look looked at the corner of my eye and saw you and said, man, I think I know him from the club. But that was back in the day. I started my business 29 years ago, 31 years old. I started off as an architect with Bethel Power Corporation, and I took a field assignment at a nuclear power plant and decided architecture was born. I wanted to be a builder, and that's actually how I got into construction. I got married in 1983, living in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I was working for Bechtel there. My wife's parents lived 2 miles to the right, my parents lived 2 miles to the left, and I said, if we're gonna be happy, we leave in Ann Arbor. And that's how I came back to Atlanta in 1983. Now here's the important part. My wife had never lived anywhere but Ann Arbor, Michigan. She had never been south. And my family, my wife's family, like, oh, you're gonna take my baby down south. And my wife had a very good job at the University of Michigan. I had a great job at Bechtel. I said, look, we going down to Atlanta. We're gonna roll. This is gonna be the bomb. I come work for this small company, construction company, and 2 months after I got here, this company goes bankrupt. That was the longest drive home in my life. Fortunately, this was before cell phones and all that stuff, so I had an excuse why I didn't call before I got home. But I'd been married 8 months, and now I gotta walk in the house and tell my wife those great jobs we left, and how great this was gonna be, and I gotta call my in-laws and say, I don't have a job. So anyway, I started working for small companies, and the one that really kind of got me to go, do any of y'all remember Herb Green? Yes. The bail bonding? Okay, he had a construction company too. And I was working for him, and it was in the bail bonding company. And sometimes some of the guys who jump by me next to me while I'm doing the estimate, they have handcuffs on. So one day they said, Dave, you play football at Morehouse, we found one of our bail jumpers, we need an extra body, we want you to go with us and you get the back door. And I'm like, what? I'm a contractor. He said, I own both companies, you go when I need you. So I get to the back door, and I said, if this guy comes out the back, he's free. I'm telling you. So that's when I told my wife, I think it's time to move on. Went in business for myself, and my wife said, you know what? She said, we ain't got nothing to lose. Now, I always took that as a good thing, she said, but you know, the wife tell you we ain't got nothing to lose. That kind of hurt a little bit. But anyway, she's been with me 100%. We've been happily married 33 years. And then finally, though, the important part was, yeah, she's the boss. I know that. You're going to be happily married, know where your position is, and your station in the relationship. All right? And that's what mine is. My daughter's getting married in 3 weeks, and my job is to show up, pay up, and shut up. So anyway, 1992, and I'm going to hurry up. I had this, our business was 4 years old. I just came from the White House getting an award. I just won the Atlanta Business Chronicle Entrepreneur of the Year, first black to win it. And we find out that one of my wife's family members had been sexually abused, and all of a sudden I blurted it out. It happened to me. I had planned on dying with that. And from that, I developed panic attacks, I had a complete nervous breakdown, but I couldn't stop working. And I didn't speak out about it until about 3 years ago, and I finally said, people need to know, especially blacks, because here's some important topics that I'm gonna make, numbers. 70% of inmates have been sexually abused. That's what the number. 46 million Americans have been sexually abused. That's just reported. 80% of predators is someone in the family or someone close to the family. So we tend not to want to talk about this. But one of the reasons my book is about the journey of healing, also about running a business while going through that kind of healing, the success and fun I had in college, my kids. So it's really my life story, how my grandfather came from Belize at 17 to America. And they put him back in 6th grade. And he went on to finish college, raised 8 kids, never owned a car, and all 8 went to college and got advanced degrees. My grandmother was a sharecropper in Social Circle, Georgia. So those are the kind of folks I talk about that inspire me. But most importantly, I want people to understand, regardless of what we've been through, because everybody got a story, we can still do some incredible things. But the most important thing is, so many of us are afraid to go get counseling because we suffer from anxiety or different things for different reasons, and we're suffering in silence. So this is what my book's about, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me here, and peace.
My name is Yvonne Bryant Johnson, and I wanted to follow Dave because I want to say thank you for writing this book. I used to chair the board of the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy, and Dave has done a lot to be a great advocate for children who've been sexually and severely physically abused, and I have never had the opportunity to say thank you. So thank you. This is my book, Mastering the Art of Success, and it's first I'm CEO of Bryan and Associates, an executive coaching, training, team building, and consulting organization. And I was also vice president of membership for the ABL. And I sent a note out to my friends and I said, this is what happens when you're a member of the ABL. This is how much they love you. So this is showing the love to our members. If you're not a member, join. You need to join now. So Leona and the ABL, thank you for giving me an opportunity to even talk about my work and what I do. And I get to every day just enjoy life, provide executive coaching to people, tell them what to do. I always like telling people what to do, but it's been a lot of fun. And last week I did a team building with a new organization that moved to Atlanta, and I did it at Dad's Garage. We did improv, and I brought in 4 nonprofits to tell their stories to these people who just moved to Atlanta. So I get a chance to do business and also support the organizations that I truly believe in, like the Partnership Against Domestic Violence, the Georgia Center for Child Advocacy, Youth Ensemble of Atlanta. And I know I'm supposed to talk about myself, but those organizations make me be who I am. I am a part of those organizations. I grew up in Atlanta, and I never tell a story about my dad. My business is Bryan and Associates. He was a business owner. He owned houses. He owned a restaurant where the parking lot, Clark AU parking lot is now. He owned a restaurant. When my dad died, we lost everything. I was 8 and I had 4 younger siblings. I became a militant, and I spent a lot of my years. I took over the building at Morehouse when I was at Spelman. So I was a part of that with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson was a part of my story then. Now I want to be a part of his story. So I got that straight. So that's why I'm so committed to the work that I do. The book is $20. You can buy it. If you don't have $20, talk to me about a scale, a sliding scale. Thank you for having me here. Thanks, Leon.
I have to say, when I heard Mr. Parker's story telling about how did you get here, it made me think about, I don't know if you guys ever heard of this book by Dick Gregory called Nigger. Has anyone has ever read it? There's a passage in there, he's telling his story, he's somewhere in the deep south, I can't remember, I think it was Mississippi. And he's in a restaurant, it's segregated, but he's in there. And some white guys come up to him and say, nigger, whatever you do, he ordered chicken, I'm sorry. He ordered chicken, they said, nigger, whatever you do to that chicken, we're gonna do to you. So Dick said he was cool and, didn't say a word. He said, but when they brought the chicken over, he turned the chicken around and kissed it on the behind. So there you go. My name is Alonzo Lawyers. I'm a partner with the law firm with Gordon Reese. I'm a corporate partner. Before I moved here to Atlanta in '98, I was with the Securities and Exchange Commission. And I was in the division of corporate finance. There were about 6 different divisions in the SEC. And I was in the division of corporate finance, which is the transactional arm of the SEC. There, anytime you have a company that's going public, mergers and acquisitions, prepackaged bankruptcies, proxy contests, anything from a transactional perspective, that has to go through the division of corporate finance. I was there from 90 until 90, right at 98. And during that period, there was only one company, I'm sure there were others, but to my knowledge anyway, there was only one company owned by an African American that went public during that period. And that company, you probably can figure it out, is Black Entertainment Television, Bob Johnson. We know $3 billion later what happened. Why is that important? That really showed me not only the impact it has on the minority business community, but the generational wealth that's created as a result. And it's evidenced by what Bob Johnson has been able to do by selling BET. And doing these transactions, I saw over and over and over again the amount of generational wealth, the ability to scale their companies that occurred as a result, particularly when they took these companies public. So I made a vow that when I left the SEC and entered private practice, I would do any and everything in my power to try and take companies public. And what I found was that there is a combination of things that influence the ability to access capital and to get the minority business community to the point where they can actually go public, if they want. Not all companies are meant to go public. Not every one of you in here, if you own a business, want to go public. I fully understand that, and that's perfectly fine. So I have done everything, and I started with working with Leona back in 2004. We hosted a forum together, and it was geared towards access to capital. And the book I've written is called The MBE's Guide to Raising Capital. It's intended to be a blueprint. If you own a company and you're looking at the issue of accessing capital, how is this game played? What are the pieces to this puzzle? Because it is a puzzle. And how does one piece fit with the other? So that's what the book is intended to do. It's not intended to be a thesaurus or anything really. It's supposed to be a blueprint to show you how this all works and guide you through the process and help you understand it. I wrote, as Leona indicated, one other book called The Mirror. It's a novel, real quick. And it's the only interesting thing I'll point out about it is I wrote it in '94. It just published in about 3 years ago. And the reason was the story is about a group of African Americans that have formed a secret society to use their wealth and influence to have the first African American elected as president of the United States. I sent it to two agents in New York, and they said the plot wasn't plausible. When President Barack Obama was elected, I started getting calls from all over the place. What happened to that book that you wrote? And I said, well, it's collecting dust. I haven't done anything. I don't have time. And one thing led to another. It's been published and been doing very well. So that's the story.
My story is this, is that I'm from Chicago. Well, first of all, I'm the Director of Small Business Development for Invest Atlanta as we speak. From Chicago originally, went to Ottawa University in Ottawa, Kansas. Got drafted in 1971. April of 1971. By August of 1971, I was in Vietnam. I'm one of the lucky ones that made it through Vietnam. So I came back to Chicago, decided to come to Atlanta to attend Atlanta University to get my MBA degree. And the best thing I could have done in my life when I was a student at Atlanta University was to become an internship, unpaid internship with the Atlanta Business League. I didn't know at the time when I did that in January of '74 that fast forward to August of '74, I converted to Islam. It's my religion. I became a member of the Nation of Islam. In 1975, January of '75, I was promoted to be the Southern Regional Business Manager for the Nation of Islam. So I was over, at the time, 4 steak and take restaurants right here in Atlanta, 2 fish markets, bakery. We had a chemist from Morehouse College who developed a water purification system. This is 1975. We were selling 5-gallon containers of purified water and gallon containers of purified water back in 1975. We were importing over 30,000 pounds of fish every single month from Peru, sardines from Morocco, and a whole host of a lot of other things we were doing with that particular community. I'm saying that to say that sensitized me to be able to work with African American businesses. Now fast forward to 1979. I'm proud to say that I've served the city of Atlanta in small business development for 5 decades. Going back to Maynard Jackson, through Andrew Young, Maynard came back for a 3rd term, Bill Campbell 2 terms, Shirley Franklin 2 terms, and I can see Reed 2 terms. And I've been there pushing these deals. So over that time frame, I financed over 600 business projects in Atlanta. And most of them have been to actually minority companies and firms in Atlanta, leveraging over $500 million in public and private sector financing. So that's sort of my little history. But in the meantime, I also worked as a district manager for Stop and Go convenience stores. I'm saying that to say all of this involvement with small businesses helped me to position myself to be able to be successful in working with businesses throughout Atlanta. So my book is called Getting Paid, Common Sense Business Tactics, which shows you how to start a business, finance a business, and most importantly, maintain a successful business. If somebody wants to start a business, this is like dealing with Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. It's like what you need to start off with on the right foot. If you're already in business, it talks about a lot of things, the balanced business person. A lot of people start a business, they're successful in business, but their home life goes down. Their family life goes down. Their health goes down. So the book shows you how to be a balanced business person. Because in life, in order to be successful in life, it's about having a balance act. It's not about just being strong in one we want to be strong in all these areas, and the book shows you how to do that. And the book is only $10 for you. I can take checks, I can take credit cards, and I can take cash. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Leona, thank you so much for what you're doing with the Atlanta Business League. Lonnie, I moved to Atlanta in 1992. And by 1994, I was a member of the Atlanta Business League. And so for those of you, and the young man who stood up a few moments ago stating that he's just been here about 6 months, I want to say that today you're in the right place at the right time. So when you leave today, we know you're going to be a member of the ABL. Okay, I'm Mary Parker, and many of you know me as the security lady. Well, that is fine and dandy. It was an accident that I got there, but it has been an excellent, excellent career. I am number 2 of 9 children. My parents were sharecroppers in rural Mississippi. And I'm going to tell you a funny story about my first experience as an entrepreneur. My grandfather, if he would have really passed the legacy on to me, it's no telling where it'd be, because my first story, my first recollection of an entrepreneurial experience was at age 4 when I ran off with my grandfather and followed him into the woods when he was going out at night to make moonshine. So, you know, it's very interesting that I'm on the other side of the law today. But the great thing about that was the exposure. And when I look back on that, I realized my grandfather wasn't just someone who made moonshine. He had to be a chemist as well as a scientist. So I'm very grateful for that early childhood experience. I didn't grow up in Mississippi. I did grow up in Mississippi as a child, but as the second child, I learned to be a survivor very, very young as well. And as such, I began to protect my family. I didn't know what was different about our lifestyles, but I knew it was something different. I'd never been exposed, you know, it was the dirt road and the mud pies and being in everybody's business, but it was something different about where we were versus where I believed we were to go. So at age 7, when the sharecropper's son came back to the farm, after going to college, I was a little ticked off with the way he treated my dad, my uncles, and so forth, because he came back not as one of them, the kid that he played with before leaving, but he came back as the superior one. And I remember at age 7, standing in that cotton field, saying to myself, I'm not picking cotton when I grow up. I'm going away, get a college education, and I'm going to be just like Billy Frank. And then I'm going to come back and buy the farm. Well, unfortunately, I didn't go back to buy the farm, but I'm very, very grateful to know that I have been very, very successful in a white man's field. And so I moved to Michigan. My family sent me to Michigan because I was a rebel. I was part of the civil rights movement. I was very, very young. Went to Michigan to live with my aunt and uncle. There I became free. They allowed me to be that person with this still voice that defied the odds of everything. You know, I spoke up, spoke out, stood up when blacks, women, and certainly children were supposed to keep their mouths closed. That led me into an unprecedented career with General Motors. I left college as a junior, went to General Motors. We had no family there. Dave, I know you know the story. If you don't have family at General Motors working either in management or with the union, you don't get in. Well, I did. And once I got there, I decided I'm not leaving. I live in Michigan. I'm at GM. So if I leave and, you know, I'm going to live here, where else am I going to work and make more money? Plus, I've been married, I was a single mom, so I had a child to feed as well. I left GM. Well, let me tell you this quick story. During the time that I was there, when I got in there, I decided I wasn't leaving because they were going to pay for my education. I became a manufacturing supervisor, young black 24-year-old, first in history to ever do that. Went through the training. I was supposed to go back to the manufacturing floor, but I remained a supervisor. We broke every record that could have been broken. Because the best kept secret was my uncle was an auto mechanic, and they never expected that I knew anything about automation. So whenever I had a problem, I called my uncle to help me troubleshoot through the crisis. And then finally, I went into security. I was, you know, we were job sharing, and so I was going to be laid off, and I decided I've got to create a position for me. I've got a hungry child and she's growing. And I identified a position where they were expanding the plant and they needed security. Security. How did I end up in security? Well, it's because of my background. I was prepared from 4 years on, remember? And I went into security and it was just something to keep a salary. But I created an opportunity that would be long-term. Today, I'm still noted as the first African-American with a full-service security firm. We operate here in Atlanta, throughout the Southeast, but we also have an office in Ghana. And so I've written my book to tell my story, to tell the story that many of us as African-American, especially African-American women, we don't tell our story. We are such diverse individuals, and as business owners, I believe we have an obligation to reach back and transfer the talents that God has given us to ensure that our legacy continues on. So that's one of the reasons that I wrote my book. But I also wanted to write my book because I received my grandmother's mantle. My grandmother was an entrepreneur as well. How many of you remember the boxes of cookies and candies and, you know, the multiple color bedspreads with all the frillies and so forth? That was my grandmother. I had to help her sell all of that. So I learned how to take bags of candy to school. I sold out every day and I decided to create a team. I had a captain at each grade level. They got the bag every day. And so my grandmother got her bedspreads in the spring and she got her bedspreads in the fall. But this book not only tells the story of my career as an entrepreneur, but it also talks about how I've also created the things that I'm now transferring to other people through a mentoring and entrepreneur training program that I have for other small businesses. We graduated 10 and we have 10 others graduating in October. And I bring the reality of being an African-American female. African-American female business owners, believe me, is totally different than the white females and other males. So I have experts to come in and talk about the theories, but I train them on the reality of it all. Lots of promises. In addition to that, I firmly believe that to whom God has given, so much to, we have a responsibility to give it all back. So I have a foundation, and my foundation is the Mary Parker Foundation, Raising Other Generations. And we give scholarships. I'm so proud to say that in 4 years we've given over $100,000 in scholarships to students across the U.S., not just Georgia. And with the support of many sponsors, some of you are in the room today, we also gave almost 400 book bags loaded with school supplies to students, and these are all Georgia school students. So we're very, very proud of what God has allowed us to do in giving back. But I'm very, very grateful, and you're probably wondering, who is this chick in charge? Well, the chick in charge is not about an attitude. It's about a posture. It's a posture of determination. It's a posture of, if it is to be, it is up to me. It is a posture of can do. And it is a posture of turning your nose into yes and not letting anyone else determine your destiny. The title I got from one of my godmothers. Her name was Katie Daniels, and she thought I could do anything in the world. And it was a challenge because I tried many of those. But I was her can-do woman. And knowing my Katie, if she said, you're my can-do woman, she had something very, very special that she wanted me to do. And as I started writing the book, I didn't know what the title would be. And one day, as I was doing a dedication to her, the title came to me. And it is The Chick in Charge, and that's truly who I am, and many of you are as well. So thank you. The book is $20. We take credit cards as well, checks, and we'll do a sliding scale if necessary. Thank you.
To me, your book is your life. So your life is a book. Everybody here has a story to tell inside of it. All right, so all you're doing is pretty much write down or use your computer right today, and documenting things. And then as you begin to think about things in a book, you've already got the material. It's not like you got to sit down and, well, write this chapter. I mean, people do that, of course, you know, but the thing is that you don't have to go with that route. You have another route you can go, and that could be you just documenting your life, you know, your events and your talks, your discussions, and that sort of thing. Put them in a format. Because as I mentioned earlier, everybody here has a book inside of them. It's up to you to bring it out.
I would like to add to that. I set my release date. And once I set the release date, I had to do it. So making the commitment, first of all, is critical because, you know, we can say we're gonna do it, but when is the question. So make a date with yourself. In addition to that, I schedule time every Monday. I go for 5 hours. That was, you know, no matter where I was or what I did, every Monday from 9 until 2. That was my appointment with me to tell my story. And don't worry about naming your chapters or any order. Just start, you know, and so much is revealed to you. You know, and then you go back and just kind of put things in chronological order. That helped me a lot. And you know, and in addition to that, there are also ghostwriters who can help you to tell your story. And if you've got friends, tell your story to them and see what they, you know, would say about that. And then just pull it all together. But I set my release date so that I could work, and it took me 6 months.
Wow. Wonderful. William has a comment, and we have a question over here. I think we do this one.
What helped me, because this is a book that was in my head for a long time. And I started writing it a long time ago. I'd write a little bit, put it aside, write a little bit, put it aside. And I kind of got stuck. Writer's block for probably 18 months. I came to a meeting one day, and somebody sent me an invitation to a Thursday night. In fact, the meeting was right here, not in this facility, but in this building over there. And so he sent me an invitation on Thursday night about 6 o'clock. I'm sitting at my computer, made me mad. So why would he invite me now? But my thought process was, I don't want to do something. I don't want to go if I don't have a purpose. But I couldn't think of a reason not to go. Long story short, when I arrived, there were 3 people there. And the guy who was doing the seminar walked around and asked me, he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, what I do with this financial services, what I want to do is what you do. He said, what's that? I said, I want to write and speak for a living. He said, oh, okay. And then he walked off, didn't offer any advice. But there was a lady sitting there who heard what I said, and she came over and she said, well, I'm an author. I said, well, let me ask you. She said, where are you? I said, I'm stuck, probably just like you are now. I said, you got these ideas, so you want to write a book. Yeah. She said, well, okay, so let me stop you. This is good free advice for everybody here. She said, stop trying to write a book. I said, because that's really, really daunting. That's a daunting task. It's a lot to do. He said, you have stories, right? Yeah, so how many you got? I don't know, a bunch of them. She said, write a story, write your story, one at a time. 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. And you write 10, 12, however many stories you've got. And when you get all your stories written, then you put them together and you got your book. So when you focus on writing the book, you won't get it done. If you focus on writing a story, short story, you'll get that done. And each story then becomes a chapter in the book, and you get it done pretty quickly. But what happened to me when I talked to her, because they said a book needs around 25,000 words, and you're doing it on the word processor so you can count. I'd been stuck at 18,000 words for 6 months, okay? Couldn't get past it. It was Friday noon of that day until the next Thursday night, I went from the 18,000 words to 28,000 words. Then I had a book. I ended up with around 37,000. It got edited back to about 35. So think of it in terms of not writing a book. Think of all the stories that, as Lonnie said, everybody's got a story. You got a bunch of them. Write each story one at a time. Then when you finish, you'll have your book.
I want to give another example of how to write a book, and this is Mastering the Art of Success. And it's a collaboration with 17 people. And I was called and they said, we hear you talk a lot about how to be successful. And we worked on this book for a year because if you collaborate, if you partner with people, people don't stick to deadlines. And it just gave me a lot of patience. but I was able to achieve my goal of sharing with the people I know and my customers about what success means to me. Success means a lot of things. It means staying focused. For me, it means sharing my knowledge. It means supporting wonderful organizations like the ADL. It means sometimes talking more about others than I do myself. And the one thing about being in this organization, about doing this book, is it's helped me to also see the need to focus on my business. I have the Moody's, I got everybody in here that have shown me that if you're going to be a business owner, be a business owner. And I'm in business to make money. That's part of what success is. But by doing this for 1 year with 16 other people, including Les Brown, Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield, you know these people, Chicken Soup of the Soul, you get to hang out with some really powerful people. And you get to speak and see your power. So I just want to encourage you, here's another method, another way. It's on Amazon as an ebook, and I get a check every month. So I just want to tell you, put a book on Amazon. I want to put something on Amazon. I didn't know it was that simple. Amazon is making money and they share it with you. I can tell you they do share. So put your book on Amazon, make it an ebook. And I've been so shocked when I look at my account, I'm like, ooh, Amazon. Okay, so I'm just encouraging you to get a book out. And I'm working on another book with one person, Teresa Sproul, and I'm putting that out there so that Teresa and I can finish. Lonnie, it's going to take us more than a month because we've already spent more than a month. But it can, you know, it's up to you. So I'm happy with this book, and I'm happy with the book that Teresa and I will put out. And I just want to say thank you, Mary, for showing what women can do and for just speaking such boldness and power into who we are. And this is for everyone in this room, so please get a copy, Mastering the Art of Success. Success means different things to different people. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to do one other thing before we give everyone a chance to mill around and talk to the, excuse me?
I was thinking it was an apple.
Well, we said 3 out loud, and there was it your hand or the gentleman's hand? Okay, and then we want to give our sponsor an opportunity to make some comments. Isn't this a beautiful facility?
Yes.
That is one question. We will have Linda DeBerry, and is you will speak on behalf, okay, on behalf of the facility and all that it is going to be. It is and will be. So, Sabrina.
Good evening. Thank you all so much. And my question is, did you all have a business plan when you wrote your book to make money, or did you just say, I'm writing a book and I'm going to rolling with having a book?
My book was more to get the story out and help others, and the profit from my book goes to help, is given to organizations that help childhood sexual abuse survivors. So it was never about making money as it was helping others. And because so many people just feel alone. So that's really, and I think most of us here, in fact, I'm pretty sure most of us wrote our books to help others go for their dreams.
I want to just second that, you know, even though I make money on Amazon and I do like to make money, that this is a marketing tool. And you get to go out and then people get, you know, can't talk to everybody, so the book speaks for you. It's a way to get your story out. My customers love the fact that I have a book. And make your customers happy is what I say.
Thank you, Leona, for having everybody here. Thank you all for coming. When she said 70 people, I said, oh, about 30 is going to show up. And now look, we have a beautiful room. Thank you so much. But just wanted to, you know, I have kind of 35 years from corporate America, same story that everybody's telling, how you get here. I'm in New York in a role where I was the only black female amongst 8 white guys as a planner. First time they've ever had a black female. So I get all of these stories. But I was one of the folks that at 55, they said, hi, you're packaged out. You know, I'm sure some of us experienced that. And you go through this anxiety of like, oh my God, you know, what am I gonna do? I thought I was gonna retire. But instead, God had another plan for me. So once I got out of my little sorrow and put my boots on and knew who I was in spite of corporate America and in spite of a job, the thing that I thought about doing, which I have been taught, is do something that you love. And I've been in marketing for 15 years, so I love people, love events, sales. I have an event space, I have a salon, spa, gentleman's spa, didn't forget you guys, because we traveled around the world, we work hard, hard, hard. And everyone in here is an entrepreneur. So you put in more hours as an entrepreneur than you ever will at somebody else's job. Because you can quit and go home, and when you're doing your own thing, you can't do that. So my goal is to make sure that we take time for ourselves. You know, I want everybody to at least take an hour a day, or just take 3 hours in one day and do yourself a favor and take care of yourself. And I'm not going to be a womanizer that says we women do it all, because we cook, we do the job, we do the family, but men do too. That's why I did not leave the men out. We have a gentleman's spa, facials, massages, haircuts. All I'd ask you to do is take a tour of the space so you know what's here. Come by and see us. Let us host your events. Let us help you do what you want to do for your business. This room transitions into everything you want it to be. And obviously, as a part of ABL, you get a great discount. And as a part of the family of helping entrepreneurs, as Mary does, as many of us do, I don't have a nonprofit, but I do open the space to nonprofits to help you. Of course, we young people know what it is to have things, to be in business and to grow. We've hosted about 10 events for young women, and they are just as amazed at our stories, believe it or not. And I know we all have a story to tell, but I won't keep you. I want you to go around, support each other, support me, ask questions, and just let us be a help to each other. Thank you.
Thank you.